A long time ago I made a video about good and bad reptile hides. It was geared more towards leopard geckos, but the idea of it could be useful for other reptiles, spiders, and maybe even amphibians. To my surprise, it did really well for a smaller channel like myself, and I continue to get thank yous as well as requests for more videos like this. So then I thought, okay, why not touch a little on the subject of humid hides? I don't really know if the subject has really been discussed before in a manner like this, but then again, I haven't actually gone out of my way to find out for myself. So yes, that is what I'm going to be talking about for today's video. Humid hides. More in specific, I want to show off some examples and explain why they are good or not so good choices. And when I talk about hides in this video, I'm going off of 13-ish years of owning both leopard geckos and fat tails. I'm not an expert by any means, nor would I ever claim to know absolutely everything there is about reptiles and the subject matter. So, with that said, the first example I want to touch on that I see all the time is the ever popular half log. You see these things sold at pretty much every single big box pet store. Hell, I've even seen them at Walmarts and Meijer. Places like Petco and PetSmart use these as humid hides in their tanks. The ones I do not like in particular for this particular method is the logs that are made from real wood and not the fake ones that are made of some type of resin or ceramic. The real wood logs you have to be a little bit careful of. Why? Well, you see, too much moisture for long periods of time can cause mildew, mold, or fungus to accumulate on the inside of the log. It turns the wood into a nasty breeding ground for bacteria and can lead to a lot more problems than the average reptile owner might take into consideration. But the fake wood logs are better. I don't have too much of a problem with them, but I still don't think I would recommend them as humid hides. I guess if you had to, in a pinch, they'll work alright, but the biggest problem with the fake ones is that because you have two entryways, which are typically somewhat large in their openings, humidity tends to escape much easier than other humid hides that have just one opening. Basically, the bigger the entryways and the more you have, the more humidity escapes, which may or may not cause the humidity of the actual tank to rise, otherwise known as ambient humidity, instead of it being more, I guess, contained in just that hide itself. Which then brings me to briefly saying that I don't really like using any hide that has more than one opening for that very same reason of humidity escaping. It's not impossible by any means, it's just more difficult to maintain in the long run. So anything like this, that, or even maybe this one here, while interesting, visually appealing, whatever you want to call them, I wouldn't consider them to be that great of choices for this in particular. If you are in the market for a very, very basic humid hide that does the job totally fine, well, this next one you can actually make yourself for dirt cheap, if not free. I'm talking about humid hides made from things like deli cups, Tupperware. I've even seen some made from larger plastic butter dishes. The concept is simple: cut a hole in the material of your choosing and lay down moist paper towel or whatever media you want for your humid hide. But please be careful to file down any sharp edges that you have created. And when you're done, well, you're done. It's as easy as that, and it works so stupid well. You can take these a step further by popping a few additional holes for excess moisture to escape on the roof of the hide. That way, if you do accidentally add too much moisture in your hide, well, it'll at least have a place to escape if necessary. Yes, too much humidity can also lead to problems. Another example of a not-so-great hide that I unfortunately have used in the past was one of those coconut husk type deals. You can find them all over the place. Amazon, local pet shops, even larger chain stores do have them, and they're usually really cheap. But the same problem occurs with that of the real log hides. Too much moisture can cause mold to form on the inside of the coconut. Although the only instances I've heard this happening is with owners of reptiles or spiders that require a much higher humidity than something like a bearded dragon, a leopard gecko, or maybe even a fat-tailed gecko. Before we move on, if you don't mind, I would like to take a moment here and shout out a clothing company that I randomly came across during my last Where's the Deals episode. I couldn't help but fall in love with the artwork immediately. Every bit of the artwork, all the designs that are put on the clothing and other merch is created by Yama. The owner is also super cool. We chatted for a little bit, and I couldn't be more impressed by the artwork and Yama's personality and passion. So yeah, if you are interested, I do have a referral link in the description that'll give you 10% off your entire order. So yeah, give Yama a look and show the artist some love and support. I'll even link their Facebook page and Instagram in the description as well. Now back to our regular programming. But if you want to go towards a more fancy option that is advertised to be a Humid Hides specifically, then we have a product by ExoTerra called the Gecko Cave. These things are really nice, really well made, and fairly easy to clean. They come in 3 sizes and feature a 2-piece design. I really love the 2-piece designs, not only because they're easy to clean, but because you are able to keep whatever material you want inside of the hide more contained. The only thing that does kind of suck about the Gecko Cave's 2-piece design is that the bottom part isn't very deep, and the way the opening is on the top portion here sits rather ground level. So if you have a gecko that likes to kick around, say, eco earth or sphagnum moss, well, they may kick that media outside of the hide and create a little bit of a mess. But overall, I think these Gecko Caves do a wonderful job, and considering I've had mine for, I think, 8-9 years, it was well worth the money. Then we have a product called the Zoomed 3-in-1 Reptishelter, which is another 2-piece design, but I really like this one just that much more than the ExoTerra. The opening is more towards the top on this one, and the bottom piece allows you to be able to put more eco earth or whatever it is you want inside of it, with a less chance that your reptile is going to create a mess by traveling it or kicking it outside of that hide. The 3-in-1 design that they advertised is to be used for basking, humid hide of course, and a egg-laying spot. It also comes in 3 sizes, and the larger one they advertise that it can be used with snakes. I can only imagine not for like massive species or anything like that. But I don't know too much about snakes, never had one, so I can't really speak on experience with this. One thing I would be cautious about is that I've seen a lot of people post negative reviews about the Reptishelter generated from Amazon in particular. And I don't know what it is, but the pictures that people are posting look absolutely nothing like the hide that I have, or have seen in person at reptile shows, or at stores for that matter. So I don't know if Zoomed changed their design recently, or if the products that are sold on Amazon are fakes, but it's something I would be very careful of. If anything, if you do see these Reptishelters in stores or at shows, take a look at them for yourself to make sure you're not getting a lesser quality product. Another fantastic option here, also with a 2-piece design with 3 different sizes, is the Zilla Rock Lair. I think of all the hides I have, this one is up there on my favorites. The opening is a little different from the other 2. There's an incline leading to the inside of the hide, and then it drops to the bottom where you can place your eco earth or moss. The way this hide is designed makes it a lot more difficult for the reptiles or whatever to make a mess, and I've noticed that this hide my leopard gecko seems to enjoy the most. I know some geckos and other reptiles, amphibians, can be picky with their hides and even the humidity-based media that you put inside of it. In some cases, they may not even be able to find the opening all that well. This one, I have not had that problem with. The last hide I want to show is this one on Amazon, and it's kind of weird. It's labeled as a Humidification Cave, and it's kind of expensive considering it's made out of what seems to be just a big, ugly chunk of plastic. It only comes in one size, and based off the measurements and the video they provide, it seems to be pretty damn big. And while looking at this listing online, with the very little context I had, no real idea how this would work as a humid hide. Like I said, the cave itself is plastic, but then it has this top piece that pops out, revealing two porous bowls inside where you're supposed to fill with water. The idea behind it is that the water slowly seeps through the pores of, I guess this is ceramic, and then down through the little vents, creating a humid atmosphere below it. I've seen this design in some other products like this one here, but I personally have never owned hides like this, so I have no knowledge on them. I have no experience with them. I guess in theory they should work, but I have seen quite a few negative reviews that claim that it does not raise any sort of humidity inside the cave. One day I'll have to buy this for myself and test that claim using a hydrometer. I am very curious to see if the idea behind it actually works or if it's just a silly little gimmick. Alright, so I think we're going to wrap things up here, everyone. Yeah, I could have gone on more and more about this subject, including talking about more hides and maybe even talking in depth on substrate to use for humid hides, but I was afraid of making this video longer than it really needed to be. So if you do have any questions, or if you have any hides that you recommend or don't recommend, share your thoughts in the comments section. Of course, my main thing with this is centered towards leopard geckos and again, fat tails, but obviously you can take my advice to use towards any other reptile, really, or even amphibians. Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to leave a like in the video and subscribe. I admittedly don't make a lot of reptile-related content, but maybe if this video gets well received, then I really don't think I have a problem making more reptile-related content. Until next time, everyone, thank you again for watching, and take care.